What is happening, everybody? Arthur and Josh here for episode 23 of State of the Art and 23,000th episode. But I do thank you guys for being patient with the technical difficulties because StreamYard's just being goofy today. And I'm like, started acting up like an hour before and I started going in panic mode. And I was like calling Josh. I was like, Josh, you got to get out of here right away. Everything is going to break and I don't know what to do. But yeah, everything is good. I'm glad you guys are ready to talk about some Savage Crucibles. And we're going to have a lot to discuss. And we're going to show some awesome photos. And I'm going to bring in the guest of honor, the man behind Savage Crucibles. We got Rob Post.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. I'd like to point out I'm just one of the men / women behind Savage Crucible.
Well, my bad. I mean, I've only I did interact with whoever deals with the Instagram. So, but yeah, so there's multiple people behind Savage Crucible. Do you want to give them any shout outs?
It's a really long list. From sculptors to painters, I think there's like 24 of us. So,
wow. Yeah.
We're all on the website. You can find the entire team and every part they do listed on the website.
There we go.
That's a lot easier than you just sitting there rambling off names and where to find them.
There's no need to put anybody to sleep in the first 2 minutes.
So we got a lot of people in here. We got some Cutthroat Comics, Judd in here, the Canuck, and we got Ted Darkclaw from Hello Dope Toys. What is up, everybody? And
Ted, where's my AWOL?
Your what?
Oh, I'm telling Ted, where's my AWOC at?
Oh, your Animal Warriors. Everybody's getting them. Everybody's playing with those figures. Whoosh was playing with those figures. I still have yet to get one in hand, debating. But we're not here to talk about those. We're here to talk about Savage Crucibles. And so, Rob, before we get into talking about Savage Crucible, I mean, growing up, what was your first action?
So I don't exactly remember which one was my first, but the three that I remember playing with the most as a kid were Star Wars, Motu, and G.I. Joe. And then once I got back to the States, Transformers became a really big deal. And then obviously I had things like Silverhawks, Mask, whatever was popular at the time. Going on from there, but those were the first three that I remember.
Okay. All right. So that is any figure specifically, or just you just like collect all of those and you're like you're just like I like it all because of was it like the cartoons that drew you into it or just seeing them on the shelves?
Actually, no. So when I was living in Germany, I didn't get to watch any of the cartoons for Motu or G.I. Joe. So those were just toys that my parents were buying me because that was pretty much the three big brands that you could get. I do remember watching Return of the Jedi in the movie theater as a young child before I came back to the States. But it wasn't until like about 84 or 85 that I actually got to see any cartoons like that. I remember seeing Voltron cartoon over in Germany, but I didn't have a Voltron toy until I got back to the United States. So, but I mean, in terms of, actual figures, I mean, everyone loved Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. I had an X-Wing. This was like 83, 82, so I had pretty much just the basic stuff on G.I. Joe. There were a lot of crazy characters coming out yet, so.
Okay. So you're enjoying pretty much all those lines at the prime, basically.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so.
Plus, you were getting to like make your own stories since you weren't watching the cartoon.
So, well, I can definitely remember spending lots of hours under the Christmas tree using it as a forest or some prop, like we all did. It was just a fascinating place to lay down, I guess, for whatever reason. But all my toys played together. There was definitely no segregation there, that's for sure.
I don't know if anybody really had I can only play with G.I. Joes. I think everybody growing up, we just grabbed all our toys, just made a giant battlefield. You had the bigger characters, so you'd have like a bunch of the little guys attacking the big characters and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't know, did you guys go outside a lot and like use firecrackers and set up scenes and like blow them up? And yeah.
When I got older, I did, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was more irresponsible. I was way too young.
I was young too. I was using magnifying glasses and melting them, and blowing up the firecrackers.
I was a big believer in battle damage, so yeah, if I could get something, Paul was stupid enough to leave a lighter around, that GI Joe was toast.
See, I had a hammer. I didn't have any fireworks, so my Hot Wheels were always getting in car accidents.
See, my problem too was I would always do underground burials for a lot of my GI Joes. So in my driveway was like a gravel driveway, and I remember making a tomb for the Snake Eyes that has like the metal sword, like the sword's crossed on his chest.
Mm-hmm.
And I buried him, and I put like a brick over him. I'm like, all right, I'll remember he's here, and I'll always be able to come back and find it. Rain and everything, it shifts around. I lost him.
Nice. And that was the version 2 of Snake Eyes, I believe. That was the second release of him. Well, I guess there might have been
that GI Joe knowledge.
Yeah. Well,
so somebody
might have been the third technically.
GI Joe in it.
I think the original Deco, the all black with that original body, they released twice. Am I right about that? I think it was twice, but yeah, that was the first.
I know they released it down the road too with like a Toy Fair like Scarlet 2-pack. They like redid it. Now somebody is asking, what are you shuffling?
These are actually plastic samples from the factory. So I have this weird thing where if I'm just talking, I have to have something in my hands. Some people have picked up on it in some of the previous podcasts, but they're paint samples. I found this special kind of plastic that I wanted to use potentially, and so the factory made me some samples. And then after I got some of these samples, they actually used an AWOC figure, the tooling from the AWOC, to produce a whole figure in one of the colors because I wanted to see the effect that it was doing. So it's pretty cool stuff. We're actually, me and Jason of AWOC, Spiro Toys rather, we have 2 of those. So they're like really rare runs of the special plastic, just 2 of them. So we're going to do a contest here in a couple of weeks to give those away to some 2 lucky people.
That's pretty awesome. I know a lot of people go crazy for those like print samples and all that stuff because it's just like that one of a kind piece.
Well, these truly are. These truly are.
And so you grew up, you're in Germany, came to the States, and then you're collecting all these toys. Like, did you ever think, or actually, I guess I should say this, as a would you ever have thought that you were going to make your own toy line?
I didn't. I wouldn't have put it past me that age. I mean, I'm pretty sure I thought I was going to go to Mars or something. But no, I don't think as a kid I thought I was going to make my own toy line. But I was doing kit bashes with GI Joes when I was like 6. So I still remember taking a part of Storm Shadow and using that with one of the Dreadnoughts to make my own special figure. Because I'd love to take things apart, Don't ever give me a mask vehicle because I'll take those things completely apart and figure out how they work. Yeah, I was a bit of a hardcore nerd. I was telling somebody about how I just found this out too, that I really like this toy line called Robotics. And it's actually the longest running toy line in existence. It's still in existence today. You can go and buy these toys. They're still being produced. And it's like almost 30 years old or something, but the parts that they made in the very beginning are still compatible with the parts that they make today. So it's just
really,
but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more, it's like a science kit kind of feel to it where you build things and it's motorized and you can make them move and crazy stuff that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's especially something like that that's still going for 30 years.
Yeah. Well, I think 3 or 4 different companies have owned it. Like it keeps selling to another company that keeps doing it. So it's pretty neat.
See, with my GI Joes, I used to just take this, I would do the kit bash, but I'd also take the screw out of the back and leave it out, and I'd have the ones that would just explode that I could just throw it and then they just shatter.
That's really good.
So then what made you get into for all the options that you could have made, like action figures and stuff, what made you say, you know what, Savage Crucible, I want to do this?
So, as you guys may or may not know, I'm a collector and I really wanted some Barbarian figures, and the ones that I had, while were really well made, they were sort of generic. So I wanted to create some third-party parts for myself to put on my own barbarians, do some customizing. And so I got a 3D printer, hired some sculptors to make some parts for me. And I get bored kind of easy. And I remember that Christmas, I was like, oh, I haven't made a website before, so I'll make a website. And I think MAFC went live on the 27th or something. I was like, I'll sell some of these heads and get some of the money back that I spend on sculpting, because you spend like $400 or $500 a head for sculpting.
Wow.
From a legitimate sculptor. And so it's like, yeah, I'll just pay for half the sculpting, whatever, don't care. It got bigger and bigger. And then it got to the point where I was like, well, there's a lot of things that I would like to see that I don't think anyone's ever going to do, or they're not going to do very well. I'm a big H.P. Lovecraft fan, and to date, most of the Cthulhu-esque stuff has not been very good, in my opinion. And then I'm also a Ron Howard fan, so Conan, things like that. And it just, in terms of those fantasy worlds, I don't see being represented very well. I mean, so everything's very knight-based, which I like knights. I love them to death. But it's either knight-based or very, very heavily influenced by Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, which are all great properties, but there's a lot more out there that's just not being tapped into. So that's sort of where the basis of it came from.
Yeah, the fantasy genre. I mean, even look at World of Warcraft, some of their characters and how they were doing it. It's like nobody's really. It's like, yeah, like you said, it's just that Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, and it's sort of almost like a safety net. Like it's a safe to play in that area, and make those types of figures versus branching out and making your own, or designing your own, or thinking of some creature or something like that.
Now, I was telling
the fantasy is so wide.
It is really wide. I mean, I was a big Diablo fan. I played every Diablo that's come out since the beginning, and I love that game. And what's interesting to me about that game, I was just having this conversation last night about how many movies have the antagonist in the title versus the protagonist, like Terminator, right? So you look at Diablo, a great example of that, where it's the antagonist, and then the good guy is really only one or two characters in the game, and then everything else is just an onslaught of these horribly evil creatures and things of that nature. Not that that's exactly what Savage Crucible is supposed to be, but it's just in terms of there's just so much out there that you feel like it's not being tapped into. I mean, that world in itself is hugely vast, and the amount of stuff that you can bring from it is pretty impressive. So I just don't ever see anybody doing that.
And so that means that you're pretty stoked for Diablo 4 when that comes out, right?
Well, I've got it on pre-order. Beta's what, in 2 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. I mean, hopefully it's better than 3, which I think it is from what I've seen.
Everything I've heard is really good. Now, I mean, 3 didn't do well coming out the gate, but I think after the Reaper of Souls, it got better, but it wasn't as long playable in my opinion. I mean, I played it 6 months,
but so yeah, no, that's awesome that so you're a collector, you're a gamer, you 3D print, and you're doing your do you still have your site where you do the 3D prints where people can buy your stuff?
Yeah, so myactionfigures.com. Actually, the store is closed until April 2nd, until after the Kickstarter, because I can't do both. I have a daytime job, a career that actually keeps me pretty busy, and so I have people that come in, family that comes in during the week that helps me pack orders for MAFC. But with the Kickstarter going on, trying to get things ready for that, it's just a little too much to take on at one time. So
that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most people don't realize, I think people think of these home-based businesses that have, 1 to 5 printers in their house or something. I mean, I have a fleet of 30 printers in the back.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And they're not, they're pretty expensive printers. It's just relatively speaking.
So then you're just sitting there and they're all probably going at the same time?
Yes.
Are they all resin, or are you doing spools?
No, they're all resin. There's no filament printers back there. Various sizes. I have some that are pretty massive in size. And then some other ones, I just got this new one a couple months ago. I still haven't used it yet, but it's a zip, and it uses some pretty interesting technology. So it prints about 10 times faster than my my regular printers, and you can actually, like, in 30 minutes, it can print a part, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because usually you're having people that are like, oh, let me print this, and they'll just have to walk away and then hope that it doesn't mess up in the middle of the print or
While you're
anything like that.
sleeping.
Yeah. But let's dive into let's look at some of your figures, shall we? I did snipe some photos from D Amazing here, and we're just gonna bring them up. Yeah, I'll let you sort of explain them, because there's even the characters that some people didn't even realize that you made, and so we got ourselves right here. Your dwarf.
Yeah, like I didn't know this was a thing until Art showed me.
Y'all are trying to get me hurt already, I see. Yeah, so the dwarves didn't make it into the Kickstarter. They're on the slate for being a part of Wave 4. I'm a big dwarf fan. A lot of the team members are big dwarf fans, so we have some really exciting dwarf stuff coming. So guys, just be patient, and it will come. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff going on with this figure. Matt O'Toole and Kevin DeLise have been doing most of the dwarf concept designs. Kevin did the sculpting on this. Alex Wu did the paints on it. And I think everybody's going to be really happy with a lot of the concepts that the guys are going to bring to the front. So,
yeah, I
is
really
that a
like
sheath?
Yes, it is. It is definitely a sheath.
That's awesome. Actual swords that have sheaths. That's a good thing.
And so a lot of the parts on the dwarf will be interchangeable with the regular size figures. Not every part, but some of the parts. So, like shoulder, like the deltoid armor that you see on all the figures currently in the Kickstarter, those are all armor pieces that can be used on the deltoids of the dwarves. The satchel, that sword sheath, those things. What we haven't really talked about is that there is a pin system to interchange parts on belts. And so, which I'm sure we'll get to here shortly about that as well. But something that I don't think a lot of people have picked up on yet, and we don't really want to spoil things for people. I think I saw a Facebook post today where I think it was by Tim Peake, who I think is actually cheating when you post stuff like this. But asking had anybody considered using like the Fishman's arms and legs as scale mail and things of that nature. And so there are a lot broader ideas that people just aren't picking up on yet in terms of how you can interact and mix like just the shoulder with the deltoid armor and give it different looks. So, but I don't want to be the one that tells everybody every combination. I'd rather than figure it out themselves.
See, that's the fun thing about it. Now, one person that is asking with the dwarf, can they have a dwarf double flipping off the bird? Are you going to be doing any hands that are like flicking off type of?
So the hands actually are interchangeable with the dwarf and the human size, so the same size hands. So the current character packs for the Barbarian Way do have bird hands in them. So yes, that will certainly work with the dwarves very well.
There you go. We got some. Yeah, this figure looks awesome, and this is Wave 4.
Whoever did the paint did an amazing job.
Yeah, the paint looks really good.
Really happy. It's really impressive in person. A lot of it's like subtle, the detailing on it, and in terms of the paint. But between Kevin and the guy that painted it, they did a really great job.
Plus, the Amazing can capture figures really well with what he does.
That is an understatement. He's certainly ahead of the game on that.
And then this guy is what I'm sort of hyped about. This is disgustingly awesome. Like it is. When I saw it, like, all right, like I'm a HP Lovecraft fan too, and Cthulhu and everything. I was just like, okay, you did the teaser with the little Cthulhu like decoder thing, and I wasn't aware that you had your site, or else I would have been on top of that because I was jealous of all those people that got it. I was like, how do I get it? Having a little tantrum, be it like, where's mine? Yeah. But this is awesome. Who thought of this design?
So there's a Canadian artist by the name of Taryn Fiddler, who's a prolific 2D artist. And I commissioned him to come up with some concept art, which a lot of it is already on the website. You can go and check it out. And for this particular guy, I was asking for sort of like this cultist monster. And he came up with a design very similar to this that I absolutely fell in love with. And I was like instantly knew that was the harbinger and that he was going to be a main character. Nick Whitmore is the guy that actually sculpted this, and he did a fantastic job. And some of the details that go into this guy, like even in the hands, the little suction cups and the ragged clothes and all that. It's really, he put a lot of effort into it. And in fact, the factory loved this figure so much. When we sent them the paint sample, they're like, I think we can do more. We can do a little bit more than what's on this to add some more oomph to it. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. A lot of people really respond to this character. So I'm really happy with it. I know some people don't like the asymmetry to the design, and I think that's just something that splits people. For every person that likes the asymmetry, there's another person that wants it to be symmetrical in terms of how the pants are and the fig and things like that.
I dig it. It works for this figure. The Canuck just said he just backed 1, 2, 3 all in.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate that.
Punk with toys. These all look amazing. Like this one definitely blew me away just because like it's beautiful. It gives me like, you know, some Resident Evil vibes with like the arm, but it also gives me like some Miyazaki, you know, because he's all about like weird like tendril and slimy things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it just it's awesome. And the fact that it's articulated, it's not just like one giant hunk. Like it's gorgeous. And it's definitely going to be a piece that when it's on the shelf, I mean, with the hood, he's a badass. Like this is the one that I'm like, it's a must. Like, look at that. And he has a little pouch there of some.
It does have a little
powder. I like how the hood comes over his head.
Yeah, it's a great effect. I think Nick did a really great job bringing that to life on what Taryn Fiddler had. I mean, he it actually that hood is in the concept art, and I love that you can put it on or take it off however you want to. And you know, a lot of people when they see something, a character like this, all they can think of is Mind Flayer. Understandably so, getting the reference, but I think some people were thrown off by the horns, which I think the horns are a fantastic touch to this. So
yeah, it definitely adds to it. I think if you took it away, it still look good, but it also, I think it's definitely a piece that needs to be on this figure. But yeah, that's the Amazing got to have fun with it already. Yeah. And then we got
Jaeger. This one's one of my favorites.
Jaeger's name?
Jaeger, yep.
Okay. Now, what is he like a werewolf? What is he?
It's an excellent question. So he's a Therian, and Therians are shapeshifters. And so whenever you hear shapeshifter, most people only ever think of like werewolves. And so yes, Jaeger himself definitely has a wolf-like form, but other Therians can change into other animals. And so they're actually clan and tribe based. And it's very interesting. Jaeger's the main character in the second graphic novel. Kevin DeLise is actually the one that came up with the concept and the sculpting on this figure as well. Alex Wu did the paints on it. And I love the character. He's fantastic. I mean, there's a lot to him. I think people will really enjoy this character. He seems to be the best selling so far. And I think one of the things you guys might want to notice is on his belt, he has a pouch as well that's clearly detachable. And
yeah, you can see the
the
tab there.
Yeah, we got those. I got those images saved for last. I have those at the at the end to show off what you sent me. But yeah, you see it right there. Now, how these nails look amazing.
Mm-hmm.
How brittle? Is there any worry of snapping, breaking, or anything like that?
Let's see.
I mean, it sounds like you might know your plastics, so I think we might be good.
Well, you know, I don't have 20 years of experience like some people, but I do put a lot of effort into it, and I do have people I trust that are manufacturing this.
You want me to give you a solo layout so you can show it that way?
And so these are check models. Other companies have different names for these, but these are actually essentially they're molded in silicone molds with actual plastic. And so, yeah, I mean,
oh,
right,
okay,
so, yeah. I mean, the hand's not soft, like the fingers are soft, and so when you get into short hardness and things like that, it's important to understand that the short hardness is actually affected by the thickness of the plastic. And so you can change it up. You can change up the durometer and things like that. But if you think about it, like the hand itself, the main part of the hand is pretty thick, relatively speaking, to the tips of the fingertips. So that softness isn't a problem with the middle of the hand, but it makes it where it's flexible at the end. So
that's awesome.
You take his bow, it's a little bit thicker. So, but that part has, and then get the handle.
Okay, so
not indestructible, but definitely has give in it.
Good. So somebody dropped it. It's not shattering into a bunch of pieces.
I hope not.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but some people put their toys above concrete, right? Which is totally different than your.
I wasn't expecting the armor to be that soft at all.
Nice.
Yeah. So
see, it's soft in the right places, though.
Right. Well, a lot of that's, like I said, a lot of that's thickness. So, here's a piece. Like the front's way more flexible in the middle than where you have the mass. So mass definitely affects your hardness. An important concept for people that aren't in the business to understand. But
no, thank you for bringing those out. That was I always like to ask some of the hard hitting questions. I threw Bobby off with one of his. He was showing like the bullets feeding out of a minigun, and I was like, "So, what are the chances of those snapping off or anything like that?" And he's just like, "Wait, what?"
Sorry, I am paying attention. I'm just doing my pledge right now.
Sweet.
You can do your pledge after, Josh.
No, I mean the maximum I think is like 9,999. Just so you're aware.
I'm not getting that many. I don't think I have room for that.
Now,
are these the arrows are probably built in? They're not removable.
So
the bolts
on the current build of Jaeger, they're on there permanently, but we're talking about that. And
Carpet Monster's dreams.
The one thing that we're talking about is making that little section a pop-in where you can put it in or out if you want it or not.
Oh, this piece are all together.
You see how his belt has like holes all the way around, so it wouldn't be distracting for that to go all the way to the front and then have it where you can plug those in, or if you don't want.
See, that's nice because then I can position the sword wherever I want, or the sheath on the back for like photos and stuff.
Yep, you're correct. And you can rotate the belt if you want to. So, like, if you wanted something carried on the front.
Look at those soft goods on there too.
Yeah, the soft goods look good. Mm-hmm. Look. So this armor, like these shoulder pads, I could take these off of here, and when I get a dwarf, and put them on the dwarf.
Mm-hmm. Nice. The deltoids. So I call it shoulder armors. There's 4 points of attachment. Okay. And if I pull this, let me see here. Gotta take this off.
You keep getting you on solo layout. I'm like, I gotta be on top of this with you, Rob.
Well, I mean, let me take this guy apart here. All right.
See what you're making them do, Josh. You're making them just take apart his figures.
Yep. So in terms of attachments, for the upper armor, you have 4 points of attachments. You have the shoulder attachments.
Cool.
You have the deltoid attachments. And what we haven't really talked about to a lot of people, because I just want them to experience it, but these are a little bit different in terms of attachments. So if you look you'll see that that's actually a ball joint at the end of that attachment.
Nice.
And so
those
the
are
reason,
deep too, not just like a little, you know.
well, when you put it in, the reason for that ball attachment is that when you're doing poses, getting up over, you can actually move it to certain angles to get it out of the way, and make it look more dynamic. And so that's the reason why it's there, is that it allows it to move just enough to really get some good arm movement and things of that nature. And so just like when you use the fly, you can actually bring it forward some. And so that's why that's there, so that you can actually, doesn't get in the way. So if that wasn't on a ball joint and it was really a much harder plastic, you couldn't get that arm movement at all.
Yeah.
So
it makes it look more natural, and the armor looks right. And
well, that's the problem with most figures that we get now. Like the figure is built for the articulation, but then the padding they put around the figure doesn't allow you to use it. So
right. And so like if you look at the Harbinger, he will have they just had to put the pins back in here on this guy that it wasn't sculpted in, but he'll have the same points of articulation. So if you wanted to pull Jaeger's armor off and put it on him for whatever reason, you definitely could. So, yeah. So I think, I think some people call these fine cuts or something. There's, every company has a different terminology depending on where they started out, in terms of whether they picked up the terminology from Hasbro or Mattel or some other company, in terms of what they call certain phases of the manufacturing process.
Yeah, your painters of these are ridiculous. Like, this looks like leather.
Oh, in person it is fantastic. It's three different colors, and but there's, it's like when you get a really great painter, and then the sculptor really puts in detail, so it has like that leather stitching in from the sculptor, and if it's one color, it just doesn't come through the way you want it to. It looks like lackluster, in my personal opinion. So, but yeah, no, I'm really happy with.
Yeah, these definitely badass. Andy has this alternate head.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't come with that alternate head. The Amazing got these, and there were parts that were made in the process, and so if it's not listed, then doesn't come with the figure. So
maybe future head pack.
Yeah, I mean, that head is definitely sculpted. If you want to see what it looks like,
let me bring that solo layout again.
What? That's cool.
I don't know why it wants to focus on the ugly guy in the back, but yeah, it's definitely already sculpted. There's lots of little pieces like that we have that we're not releasing just yet, and I think you'll see some stuff in the stretch goals this Friday. So
stretch goals are always fun.
Well,
and then we got your Barbarian, I think.
Krieger, yep, which is German for warrior.
And this is the only one, like I said, I sniped it from a lot of these from D Amazing. So he only had this one at the end of his video, and I'm like, man, he came with so many cool things. But the armor, again, just pretty much get him down to like nakedness, like a loincloth in a sense, and then just swap them out with whatever other parts from other figures.
Oh yeah. I think by the time you get to wave 3, I forget the count, but you have about, I don't know, 14 different forearms and shin armors and waist pieces. So if you just wanted a shell with nothing but barbarians and different armor sets, it's very easy to get 14 of them.
Now, well, this may not even be on the radar at all, but would you ever think about doing like armor like stands or displays so people can like maybe set up like a castle diorama or armory and just have like the armor up on display?
So that's something that actually the concept that you're alluding to is something we talk about a lot, and it's what do you do with these extra parts? And it's great that we get extra parts, and it's really great that companies give you extra things, right? But they usually end up in a Ziploc bag in a drawer, and then you don't ever really, after you're through playing with your figure and then you finally display it, you don't really touch it that much again. So what do you do with it? So we have come up with a couple ideas on how to use certain parts to make them fun. And one of them is like, what do you do with alternate heads? If you have more than one head, what do you do with it? And so we have like these little creatures that you can put those heads on that are just horrific. Creatures, they're nothing cute like the Plunderling versions, or I think they call them
the hatchlings.
hatchlings. I'm gonna call them cracklings, but yeah, hatchlings. Nothing that cute, mind you. And then it was like, what do you do with all the extra hands? And I was like, what about a wall of hands? Like just a wall that you plug the extra hands in. It just looks creepy with all these hands sticking out of it.
Like the hands from like Labyrinth when she
yes,
fell
exactly.
down
Yes.
Like, that's awesome. I would never have thought of going to like more of the creepy route, but then I could see it like weird creatures with multiple heads and walls of hands, and it fits that Diablo vibe that from
Yes.
like
and so like like they have those getting to the armor question, you see those like armor mannequins that they have, like it's like just the bust. And if you could have it where you could attach the armor just to that and have it like a wooden bust, kind of design like that, that'd be really nice. I think anyway, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So those are like little things that we try to knock in there. And some of like the skull pieces that are in the character packs are meant to be able, you can use them on the figures, but you can also, put them on the ground as diorama pieces.
And then this is the one I'm most excited for. I definitely bought this one.
The Jaeger, with this, like the photos from the amazing stuff look great, but this really shows the sculpt.
Yes. There is an impressive amount of detail.
Now, are cuffs? So are they going to be like really chained, like real chains?
Right now, that's just a sculpted piece, and so this is one of the stretch goals that we're going to unveil on Friday in terms of. So the belts have this interchangeable pin system where everybody can add, up to like 2, maybe 3 items onto their belt, and they're all pretty much for the most part interchangeable. And so, like this is a sextant. This is what we call the navigator set, and the idea is that you can mix and match parts and put them on figures to give them a little bit more character, just fun kind of things. And so you can think of like if you're an adventurer or whatever you want to call yourself in this world, all the different possibilities of things that you might want or need to carry. And so if you're just building an army, you can have different pieces on their belt just to give them a different look, right?
Like a shrunken head. I need a shrunken head.
Shrunken head, a string of skulls, a whip,
some ears on a necklace to go on the belt.
Ears on the necklace, that would be a good one. So like you got your standard money pallets, you got your ladder, you got your potion bottles, your scrolls, and then as a lot of people have already requested, there's this great picture that Rubus drew with Jaeger where he cut off this fish head, a piranhenoid head, and had it on a hook. And so everybody wanted a fish head on a hook. And I thought that was nice. It was a great idea. But I think the better idea is just to have a hook neck peg that you can put anybody's head on that you've chopped off, essentially.
That's awesome.
And so that's another idea of like, what do you do with extra heads?
Have Jaeger carrying a bunch of them around. I mean,
exactly.
Like,
oh yeah, dude.
That's
see him with like a bunch of them like strung over his shoulder. That'd make for a great photo.
Yep.
You could probably feed his the belt through a couple of these too, and just have them hanging off his belt.
Yeah, right? You could. And so, but that goes back to like maybe we just make a belt accessory that plugs into the belt that has a neck peg off of it that you can plug that into, right? Like that would be another thing. So like with this version, you can have Jaeger literally carrying 2 heads. Or any character carrying 2 heads. So you can put human heads on there. You can put lizard heads on there, fish heads, whatever. Maybe you want 2 of Calamari Jesus being carried off like that. One of the guys loves to call it the harbinger of the abyss, Calamari Jesus. So I should say Calamari Jesus. I think would probably be a little bit easier for everybody to swallow. But
and so the book's gonna have like actual sculpted in, like raised up. runes or whatever.
That's
writing?
actually if anybody's screenshotting that, there might be a code in there.
So I should zoom in for everybody to screenshot it for their little code if they have the. There you guys go. There you go. That's enough. That's enough time. And we got the potions, the scrolls, and I love the fact that it's like you got the tears into this. Now, and it's probably already a stupid question, but I'm sure that these are going to be like you're going to make potions, and they're probably going to be in translucent plastic. And then you're going to paint it out things so you can have like the different colors.
Potentially, we'll have to see. So when you get into like making like one piece of totally translucent material out of an entire run, that becomes problematic. Like that's a big ask for the factory. So you want, if you're going to do something, then you need to have more parts that are like that, that make sense for at least on one tooling plate for it to make sense. So doing just one single part
painted with different colors.
And so that's like an option if you think about it. Like you could just produce a bunch of all these add-ons pieces in one color that's translucent, and then all the rest of them get painted except for the bottle one. That's an option that you might be able to do. So those are sort of like just things to think about from a production standpoint.
Jesus Esco.
Nice. Wow. Okay.
And then we got the sack with the rope and stuff. This is just and man,
it's really well thought out. I like it. That's like
I mean, when you think about like playing Diablo and other games, like you load out with your potions. Like how many RPGs have you played where the accessories are just really a big part of it? And I'm not saying that people didn't play RPGs or fantasy genres, but it does seem like that a lot of people that are putting out fantasy characters didn't grow up playing Diablo and things like that. So those are sort of like, once again, it goes back to the things that I felt like were missing that I wanted to bring to the table.
Yeah, nobody has water skins.
Yeah,
with their figures.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was a Minotaur's nutsack that
it could be.
It could be. I mean,
you could sculpt a little vein in there,
Most platters are made out of leather and some kind of organ material. So, it could be a Minotaur's nutsack.
Well, that's what my Jaeger's going to have.
I mean,
but that's awesome. And I love the fact that you have that, you play Diablo, you played some RPGs and stuff like that, and you love those, like the fantasy genre, where you thought of this stuff, because it's something that's so easily you'd think of, that everybody would think of, but it's like it's overlooked so much.
Yeah. And guys, I harp on this a lot, but it's not just me thinking of this. There's literally 24 people behind me that helped me come up with
when I say you, I'm talking about the Savage Crucible team, everybody that's thinking of this stuff. I mean, it's not just all, you're just the person that's on the live with us. I don't want anybody to feel like that's been working on it that I'm,
Oh no, I don't think they do. I just try to reiterate it as many times as I can. So here's a nice bullwhip, which I think would go really great with the lizard people, given the Lemurians anyway, and how they actually herd and farm people. So just another great touch. So I think everybody's...
I grabbed Como.
So Como is actually a unique character. He's actually a hybrid. He's half human, half Lemurian.
Really?
So that's why he looks so much different than the
guy. You're talking about the one with like the flame sword, the hot sword. Let's see if I can bring that up.
I don't know. Como called to me. I was like, yeah, I need that one.
He called
you. Thinking like buddy cop comedy movie, Jaeger and Como.
There we go. We got Como here. Oh, wait, can I do it bigger? Nope, we're gonna block it. Yeah, Instagram on PC or just not on like a smart device is garbage. But yeah, Como. So he's got the humanoid mouth.
Arlen Pillet. Arlen, I screw up Arlen's name all the time. I'm not going to pronounce it because I'm not French Canadian, even though he's not French Canadian either. Arlen did a fantastic job sculpting Como, and Arlen is a prolific sculptor. Him and Nick probably have the most industry experience. So I can tell you that Arlen sculpts for Hasbro, Mezco, Spiro, us, all kinds of things. I think like if you really like Sabentor, that he sculpted that for Hasbro. So it did a great job. Now Nick Whitmore did the what I refer to. This is the lava armor for this character.
That's sick.
And this is a combination of painting skills. So Tim Peake painted the armor, and then the skin tone that we're going with on the other picture was painted by Nikki Nicole Cheney. And so this is kind of what we do. Like everybody kind of just paints and does their own thing in certain amounts. We don't give a lot of direction, which some people may or may not like, but I like people to be as creative as they possibly can. And I think it kind of rises to the top, so you get to pick what resonates with you. And so we took his armor with her skin to come up with this guy that I think is going to really pop between the black, the orange, and the blue, and the sort of the brown. So just a pretty cool looking character, in my opinion, from top to bottom, from sculpt to paint. So, and Abraham did a fantastic job.
Are you and your team worried about because your team is doing a great job at painting these things? Is it going to translate at the factory?
So half of the paint samples that you've shown so far were actually painted in Hong Kong.
Okay.
By the, so yes, the factory has seen all of these, and that's how we got pricing before we ever do the Kickstarter. This might shock you guys, but there are a lot of Kickstarters that have never even talked to a factory, much less actually gotten pricing from the factory based off of what they're actually producing. So,
yeah.
So just throwing a guesstimate of how much they need.
Yeah.
That's
well, that's why things fail sometimes, right? Even though when they fund, sometimes people may have had the best intentions, but didn't have the understanding of what it really was. Sometimes they trusted the wrong person. And, like one of the biggest aspects to a Kickstarter is having a factory and someone that you can really trust, because when you hit the send button on that wire transfer, like you're gone. You're sending it to China. You're not getting that back, sir. Like that's done. That's a prayer, right?
You're not sending it to a prince
really,
that
really
needs...
have to know who you're doing business with, and they have to be really reputable. And so that's where sometimes people get into issues. But yes, these actually are going to be some of the most expensive figures that this factory's ever done. So
that's awesome. I don't even know where to start. Like you guys have been posting up stuff, and I might as well just like these are what I am stoked about, because just the design.
So
freaking the anglerfish design is underused, and it's so good that you took advantage of it.
It's terrifying. Well, so this sculpt is Nick Whitmore out of the UK sculpted this, and he's done a lot of work over the years, from everybody from like Lego to boss fights to Marauders. So he's an excellent sculptor as well. Nikki Nicole Cheney did the paints on this monstrosity. That mouth is just insane on how hypnotic it is, which kind of is kind of an ode to the anglerfish in itself with that light. So you can imagine with his mouth open, and there might be some shots on there with his mouth open, but you can think of it just how they approach it in terms of the hypnotism to it. So pretty interesting. I think there was one person that was asking about how you get the helmet on, and the helmet's actually a soft plastic, and you just squish it, and that whole his antenna light goes through it and pops right in easily. So
you said Nicole painted these?
Yes, she did.
She is insane.
She is a very, very talented young lady. There is no doubt about that.
I mean, that also helps like with the sculpt, but that paint is what also drew me in on these as well.
Oh yeah. No, they're awesome. And so when you think about, another thing for people to think about is you look at this guy and those shins and those forearms and that deltoid armor and that waist piece.
Yeah.
You can put all of that on a reptilian or a human.
Really?
That's so freaking cool.
Even at the angle that comes under the neck, that'll work on the.
No, I didn't say the chest armor.
You said
I
the
said
deltoids.
armor,
okay, yeah.
the shins, the forearms, and the waist.
Okay.
That will all fit on any of the other characters, and vice versa. So
Yeah, look
by
at
this
that
point,
mouth.
if you need 14 different fishmen, you can definitely armor them out however you want to.
Yeah, that one was sick. And then when D Amazing did this one, I was like, the paint on this one's good too.
So Alex Wu did the paint on this. He lives in Hong Kong, and he came up with this great idea. This is a Czech model, and so they actually the factory produced this Czech model in translucent plastic, that's translucent plastic, and then he proceeded to paint over it, and that gives it that look of, like, if you're gonna go fishing, you see like certain fish, like Chad and stuff, that have that translucent effect at certain parts of their body. So it has that because of that. So it's a translucent plastic that's been painted over to give it that look.
I wonder how light would transfer through the back of it. That'd probably look pretty cool.
Well, we discussed making it like out of glow in the dark material after Alex came up with this idea, and then we were kind of worried that if we told people it was glow in the dark, but the paint really covered it up, then it kind of be like a wah 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 kind of moment. And so we're like, we might sneak one in just to test it to see how it works, and then come back to it later on the glow in the dark aspects of it. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, the sculpt, Nick Whitmore came up with the sculpt. I think this is actually a pretty true to Rubus's concept design on the armor set. So if I remember correctly, so Rubus did this on the concept art, Nick did the sculpting, and Alex did the painting.
That fishbone sword looks sweet. Yeah, better shot of the inside the mouth and how hinged. Really cool.
I think this is based off an Atlantic wolf fish. It's a saltwater fish that's pretty nasty in terms of aggressiveness. So
that's, yeah. It seems like the fish were the latest ones you guys have been showing stuff. And this one with the freaking dead eye or the pale eye, I was like, no way.
So Nick Whitmore sculpted the armor set and the piranhoids, and then Tim Peake is responsible for the paint on this guy.
Way to go, Tim. Way to go.
So I think the red on that leather armor is beautiful. And I know some people made some allusions to Battle Cat and whatnot, and I was like, congratulations, you now know what the color wheel is.
Right? You used green and red. You're copying Battle Cat. Like, what? Well, Battle Cat's copying Christmas. How do you think about that? Like,
yeah, I mean, there's a reason why those colors go to other people. It's but I get it though. I mean, he's got a hat. I mean, like a armor leather hat that goes on there too. So pretty cool. But no, this is a nasty creature, and Tim did a great job on this.
And anybody that's watching, I know you guys are asking questions and stuff. We're going to save a lot of that to the end. So I just want to get through some of this, and then we can ask the questions towards the end so we can just enjoy these amazing works of art here that people are going to be filling their shelves with. The helmet looks great too. And I like how you guys did like the battle damage actually on a lot of the armor.
Yeah, you want to give it that worn look. And
oh wow, he's got some scaled dungarees.
Yeah, we were actually commenting on this week. We're like, well, do we paint them a different color or do we paint them green? And I was like, I don't care. It works either way. I was like, I can't wait for someone to pull apart a figure just so they can have scaled underwear.
I mean, it'll work.
At some point, one of the barbarians will definitely have a crotch piece that has little hearts on it. So if someone wants to give the barbarian like heart boxers or whatever, it'd be just as a joke. But yeah,
this thing all geared up is just, they're scary looking. Like this one is definitely has that scariness to it.
And once again, you can take all of this, the deltoid armor, the waist piece, the shins, the forearms, and you can put them on the human body or the Lemurian body. I mean, technically you can go put it on the Harbinger as well. So just to give it a different look.
But why would you want to do that? Because the Harbinger just looks beautiful as is, you know. Yeah. Or is this a spear? Did I cut out?
The harpoon? Yes, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. So it's a harpoon. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Two different pieces.
Yes, in 2 pieces, the harpoon. Ideally, you would put like jute cord to attach it to each other. And so it's a whaling spear, if you think about it.
Oh,
so
okay.
You would harpoon it, and then you want that to stick in. So you think of it like it harpoons, and then it has a rope or a chain attached to it to hold on to. So yeah, we tried to find a lot of stuff that was inspired by pirates or whaling ships and things like that for this wave.
Beautiful wave. And then here we go. We got some Jaeger action right there.
Yes, and so Rubus just did this because Rubus is Rubus, and Rubus just draws badass shit for fun. And yes, everyone was like, "Oh my god, now I need Rubus. I need Jaeger to have this fish head." And we're like, "Well, we don't have to give you the fish head. You need the thing that it attaches to." And I think Gordon sculpted that in probably 4 hours or less, like the first night that this came out. And then so we put up a thing asking for people for feedback on stretch goals, and this was obviously people were screaming for this, and I was just excited. I was like, this is a great example of how we look like we know what we're doing, and sometimes when we come up with ideas, and like because we're always trying to think of things to do with extra heads, like you just don't want to put them in a fish tackle box and forget about them. I think the more that you can use the parts that you give, the better off you are. And this is a great example of, utilizing extra heads. So
definitely is.
Because you can see the barbarians carrying 2 lizard heads. You can see the lizards carrying human heads, right? Or vice versa. So
yeah.
Oh, these are one. I was hoping I'd see more. So what is this? Nashorn?
Nashorn, which is German for rhino. And he's a fantastic character.
And here's a better shot of that Krieger. Yeah. Now, inspired by Skyrim, Dragonborn?
I don't think so. Kevin Delias is the one that did the concept for this guy. Kevin will watch this eventually, and he lives in Germany probably, but I don't know that he plays Skyrim.
Just the helmet gives off the Skyrim vibe.
Yeah, I'll have to ask him. I mean, Kevin churns out some, like on the website, we have like 3D. It's kind of like concept design. So they're not always completely fleshed out, but they're just kind of like concepts that he's playing around with. And he comes up with some really great ones on his own without even going off of concept art. So there's something I can say that we do very different from a lot of other toy companies. So if you talk to sculptors and painters, they'll tell you how rigid the process can be in developing toys. And so they don't get to put a lot of their heart and soul when they sculpt something because they have a concept sheet in front of them and they're not allowed to deviate from it. Doesn't matter how passionate they are about the character or what they know about the character, they're not allowed to deviate from it. And so sometimes we have concept art that we ask the sculptor to use as inspiration, but I very rarely tell them that I want exactly what's on the concept piece. And also I don't ever tell the painters exactly how to paint things. So and then sometimes we don't have concept art. Sometimes we say, you know what, I think we need this to fill this gap, and the sculptor will come up with the design. So totally different ways on every character or figure and how we go about filling gaps or coming up with designs. So
artistic freedom is good, especially
look at the first wave. But look at the first wave. Look at all the different heads in the first wave, just the lizards, right? There's so many different types of lizard heads, and it's because they're literally were done by like 4 different sculptors. All the heads in that entire, I think there's like 8, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9. There's 9 different heads available in wave 1, and they're all different. 2 or 3 of them follow the same theme, whether they're Saurian or Lemurian, but it gives you a wide breadth of what that world and those races can be like.
That's really cool having like different people do different characters. It gives it more of like that its own identity per figure.
It does, and it's
this guy's cool. Look at that face.
Oh yeah, Nin is fantastic. Abraham did a great job on his bio, which I think everybody's going to really love, and
the colors are awesome.
Nikki did a fantastic job on the figure, and Alex did a fantastic job on the figure as well. And so this is another example where we took the skin from Nikki's model, and then we took the armor from Alex's model and combined them to what we were going to basically present to the fan base. And so it's just a little bit different. And so this guy actually has a different torso than the rest of the figures. It may not look like it to some, but he actually has a long neck torso, and that armor that's on his shoulders, there's actually an extra piece on the neck that comes out so that you can use that armor on the shorter neck torsos. And so, yes, you can definitely use this on a human body, that chest piece, the chest armor. But Kevin DeLise is the one that came up with the concept and the sculpting for this guy, and just a great character.
A lot of this stuff, like at first when I saw him, I was like, man, it gave me some like Soul Calibur vibes. Well, even this armor is just awesome.
And so this guy shares parts with the Royal Guard. The waist piece and the chest piece are the same pieces that are on the Royal Guard in the deltoid armor, but his shins and forearms are actually different. And so it is a paint variant to the Royal Guard. Eric Miller is the one that did the paint on this guy, and I believe it was Nick Whitmore that did the armor set. So for the sculpting of the armor set.
Just getting into the older stuff. Those are all concepts. Yeah, let's just dive right into the very successful so far Kickstarter.
You're breaking up on us, bud.
Oh,
did I cut out again? Didn't I?
You did.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw my computer. But no, so the Canuck was asking, since this stops on April 1st, is this going to be an April Fool's?
So it's all real cruel joke on all of us, me included. No, I did notice that was the date that it was going to end on, and April Fool's had nothing to do with it. It was simply the first Saturday after a payday, and that's why we ended on that day. So no, it'd be one hell of an elaborate April Fool's joke, but years in the making. But
and everybody that's watching, if you guys are, checking out the Kickstarter, I wanted to show some of those paint samples because on the Kickstarter, I mean, it started, you guys primarily started with these as like the main images, right?
Right.
So I wanted them to see like, okay, these are the concept sort of designs and then what you were actually pumping out.
Yeah, Kickstarter is kind of hard because you have this one linear format. It's made to be seen on your phone, and then you're basically doom scrolling to the end, and you kind of forget everything you've seen before it. And so we felt like just showing the gray shows you a lot of the detail. The color render gives you a pretty good idea, and then at the very, very bottom we show a lot of the paint masters. I know it's hard, but that's just the format that you're given, and so we tried our best to work within it without.
It works though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're seeing what everything you're getting. You're labeling it what wave is coming. That these figures are going to be in. You're being very transparent. And then we can get some dwarven coins. Rainbow has got some big old steins that they could be drinking out of, and just have like a wooden table, throw the coins down, and just some good cosplay or Renaissance fair type of stuff.
Oh yeah, they're high quality. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, here's this thing that I've seen that went out that I was like, what is this? But yeah, this is gorgeous.
Me and Gordon Light worked on this together, and it was a lot of fun coming up with it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was very happy with the success that it brought in the marketing scheme. I had no idea if it was going to work or if people just going to thought it was stupid, but it was a lot of fun to bring to life.
Now, is this metal or is it plastic?
No, that's metal.
Oh, okay.
It is. Let's see. I got one back here, I think. This is a very solid piece, and it's quite heavy. And
yeah, that's.
Let's see.
If I recall, those like the white glows in the dark.
Yes, they do glow in the dark, and that's actually what the Latin on the back means: light and darkness. And so yeah, and the numbering system is this 13th century numbering system that monks came up with, and it's a lot of fun. We have some more games to be had and some new numbering systems to introduce. I think people are going to like, but you have this piece on your desk, and people will always pick it up and ask you about it. Like it's just one of those great conversations.
I'd be like, don't touch it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't touch it. So it's a wonderful piece. So there's not a lot of them out there, and I will not be offering them again in antique silver either. So I love them. If you're into pieces that are really stand out in your collection, it's a great piece to have because it's very unique.
Well, it's a unique piece you should have if you're going to be doing like the decoder stuff every once in a while, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like it's a reward in itself. So maybe this is why my stuff was. Maybe my antivirus was scanning while we were trying to do this, and it's making my stuff be crappy. I don't know. So you're doing a 56-page graphic novel that sort of teases some characters we haven't seen.
So you can go to the website and download the digital version of the graphic novel. It's already completed. This is just a hard copy that, we put it in there because some people asked for a hard copy of it to be made available. This is what Rubus and Abraham and Maja worked on, Maja being the colorist. And yeah, we get a lot of requests for some of the characters. Don't want to spoil the ending of the graphic novel for you, but obviously Who-Man, the main character in the middle, we put into the lineup rather. So yeah, I can certainly see where some of the other characters will eventually be made into their own form.
We got some. Oh, we got different. We got the Lemurian coins, Barbarian coins. So all you cosplayers out there can dress up as any of these characters and have your own money.
Yeah.
And these are going to be done in metal?
Yes, they are done in metal. They are nice, high quality coins. Yes. If you've ever been in the military and you've gotten challenge coins, then you know what I'm talking about.
And then we got this is just talking about, is this any? Oh, wave 2 unlock.
Mm-hmm.
And who did the artwork for these? Like these crazy, super detailed and
Tony Midi, M-I-D-I is his name. He does a lot of like album cover kind of artwork. He does stuff for like wine bottles, all kinds of stuff, but definitely in his style. He's done just about all of these. It is a fantastic style. We greatly enjoy it. We send him like clips of some of our sculpts and stuff, and he combines it and then makes it into one for us. So
that's pretty cool.
This character in the middle of this one actually was originally slated to be released in Wave 2. He's already sculpted, but we pushed him out to make room for Jaeger because people already knew about Jaeger. So more to come.
Poor Barbarian got kicked to the side for a shapeshifter.
Yep.
And then we got the Who-Man. I thought that was funny. I was like, just Who-Man.
Well,
it's like human and Who Man, but it's also like He Man and
right. Like when I called him that, and so in the graphic novel, he's referred to as his name's never given, and so one of the characters likes to refer to him as Who Man, trying to say human, and I thought it was great because I wanted to release the figure, but I didn't really want to reveal his name, and it never crossed my mind that some people might think that it was like a slight or an homage to He-Man. And I'm just embarrassed that I didn't think of that, to be honest. But yeah, that's the origin of his name.
Then we got Krieger here, which we looked at. Then here's Nashorn. Now, you didn't make like a paint sample of him yet, did you?
No, I've not. We have not.
The details on him just look awesome. And again, I am gonna let my hats off to you. You're giving us sheaths for the weapons.
For a lot of them, yeah.
We got Jaeger, and this is all wave 2, and then we got I don't know who this is based off of. I don't even know. I don't know at all.
So, oh Lord. So yeah, Frank Frazetta, world famous fantasy artist, well known for his work on Conan covers, Death Dealer, the Molly Hatchet album cover. Just probably the greatest fantasy artist of the 20th century, and the Frazetta family was nice enough to let me license these characters from them. And so this is one of the first characters that we're starting with, and there's a painting called Warrior with Ball and Chain, and on the Instagram you can actually see a side-by-side of the painting versus this right here, and it's pretty accurate. So we're pretty excited to be able to do these characters, and we're planning on bringing at least one every other wave, if not every wave, to life. And so we wanted to start with characters that we felt like, for lack of a better term, may not be as well known to the general public. And because everybody knows who Death Dealer is if you're in fantasy, they've seen it before. But didn't want to start there. There's so many, like literally just hundreds of characters out there that he's done that are fantastic, that should be brought to life, or at least action figure life. So
yeah, and that's awesome. I didn't realize that you actually had to get, reached out, did the licensing and stuff like that. It's like, it's awesome. When I saw it, I was like, oh, you didn't even have to see the name. When you saw it, you just knew. And again, if you're familiar with the work.
Yep.
Then we got some character packs. So horns are going to be removable out of helmets?
Correct. So you can mix and match. So like the horns on Nashorn come out. So if you wanted to use any of these three, or switch out the heads, and so you get a lot of different options there on what you do.
And you got the middle finger hands for everybody that wants to have some aggression,
or just friendly banter between your toys.
Yeah. Yeah, the wave 2 stuff looks great. I like, as you look at them, you're just like, man, I fought you. I've fought you in a game of some sort, hacked you down, or been robbed by you. Like, these guys look like bandits in a sense. Maybe not this one as much, but these two head sculpts remind me of like bandits. Now, what are the skulls?
So those are actually fist weapons. There's a like a shield handle on the back of them, so they can put them in their hands. The plan is to make the actual L-shaped handle removable or pop out, so that you can actually just lay the skulls on the ground like diorama pieces if you wanted to. So it's like sort of like a combo piece between diorama pieces and actually using them as weapons. So if you think of like a barbarian picking up a skull and bashing someone's head in with it. So,
but yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's like you just got beat by some skulls.
Yes.
And then like I thought they were gonna be like knee pads or like armor pieces. You're like, nah, they're just brass knuckles, but made of skulls, Here's some more of that awesome artwork for unlocking Wave 3. And then we did look at a lot of the fish people already. But yeah, the Wave 3 is what grabs me a lot. A lot of them look awesome in all the waves, but it's like 3 definitely grabbed me just because I was like, I've never seen fish people like this ever, like at all in figure format.
Yeah.
And I love how you have like even a simple, like no armor. They're just like little, I guess, pawns. They'd be the ones sort of like just be running in mass hordes or swimming in the water at people, you know. And then this beauty right here. Look at that. Now, one question: why? So, like, why didn't you put like a magic effect with him, or like a
So there's not that we don't want to do magic effects or add-on items for swords and things like that. We do, but you have to see how people respond to the line, right? First, we're unproven entity in a lot of people's eyes, even though that MAFC's been in business for 3 years. But
how quickly did your Kickstarter hit goal?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it was like 6.5 hours. I think
so. I mean, I get what you're saying though, because I mean, for a Kickstarter, this is very jam-packed with a lot of characters, a lot of waves, a lot of artwork, a lot of like different designs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I can't be a greedy little piggy, be like, why didn't you do this? Why can't we have more?
Well, you can. I'm just smiling, nodding my head, but it takes years to get this much done. This isn't done in 6 months. And the reason why we broke up in waves is so that we could get it out quick. And the reason why we put so many waves up is because we wanted people to realize it's not just a lizard line or anything like that. It's a full world, and we have lots and lots of characters already sculpted that we're still not even showing here. Kevin and Nick have been working full time for 2 years now.
Wow.
So.
Locked. Look at all that damn locked.
Yep.
Come on, guys. We need to back this so we can get these rest of these unlocked. And then you said Friday you're going to have Friday, February 24th.
We'll start adding these in so people can see what they're going to unlock. There's
how much are you guys at right now on it? How much have you funded? What's the number?
I don't know. I want to say around 330 something.
Making me scroll all the way up.
I can refresh here on mine.
338.
We're at 338.
Nice.
So,
and you still have 38 days to go.
What's like 1 week you raised, north of $250,000.
That's awesome.
It's impressive.
Funded in 6 hours. Like that's
we hit
here we go. Wait, all right, there we go. So you got like all the bits and pieces.
Yes. So if you're familiar with articulation.
Any of these videos, I'll let everybody else. Anybody interested, go check out the Kickstarter. I'm not going to play all these videos because we'll be here all day because we've been going through every like character known to man. And make sure you guys check out D Amazing. He did some hands-on. That paint job is pretty sick on this one.
Yep, that's on the Savage.
And just showing off the whole.
Yeah, this is a great picture. I'll stop right here for a second to let people realize something. So, like when you're doing like paint masters, like you don't just do just one, okay? Because the one you send goes to the factory, and what most people don't realize is what you send to the factory, you're not getting back, because they literally take that thing apart and hand it to each painting station, and they use that as a reference while they're painting. And so that thing's practically dirty, disgusting by the time that process is over with, right? And so you think about it, they can't send you back what you sent them. So you've got to have a version that's clean and together so that you can compare the paint sample they send back to give the okay, right? So, and then you need a third version if you're going to be at conventions to at least show people what the hell you have, because you don't have anything yet. So that's literally three. You can see right there. That's three different harbingers painted exactly the same, so that you can send one to the factory, keep one in Hong Kong at the office, so that that's what my production manager can look at, and one comes back home to go on these wonderful round trip tours of podcasts and conventions.
You got your size comparisons. Everybody that's collecting every other line that's out there, they're going to fit really well. At first, I think even Josh, you're thinking they were 7-inch.
Yeah,
figures, right?
Yeah, they're pretty close to 7-inch, but there's different scales of the figures. So the dwarf's a little bit shorter, Prinoid's a little bit shorter, Nin's a little bit taller because he's got a longer neck. And so they are closer, I would say, to 7-inch versus a 6-inch figure. But
they seem 1/12 scale.
In a lot of ways they are, yes. So it just kind of depends on,
because like was it Nim or was it Nim or Near?
Nin Villamere.
Yeah, Nin. Yeah. I would imagine he would be tall like the Predator anyway, compared to
right,
like a Power Ranger. So
yes,
that works.
And so another thing that you have to appreciate in these pictures as you're looking at them, always pay attention heel to heel. Okay, because when you take your height measurement, you stand with your heels together because that's the tallest you are. Yeah. And so just about in every one of these pictures or these comparisons, the other toy line has their feet apart farther than what our figure does.
And plus, you're not really going to be posing this figure straight up like that anyway. You're going to have them all sort of slouched down. And no, I mean, all these shots that show in the comparison, I mean, it works. And then your packaging looks beautiful.
Are you guys thinking of doing the dwarfs for like wave 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Unfortunately, people have my address. So if I don't put them in wave 4, I'm scared of what might happen if there's
no. Everybody lose his address. I guess leave him alone.
Now the Kickstarter and your website and your Instagram is all linked in the description of this live. So anybody that's interested in supporting the Kickstarter, looking more into it, go in the description, click on all that stuff. It's awesome to see fresh ideas out there, and at first when I was like, oh, Savage Crucible, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Do I need more fantasy? And then it's like you unveiled them. And I was just like, what in the heck? I was like, it's so different that, yeah, of course you need them. Like it's good. And then your guys' thought process behind it is phenomenal as well. Like thinking outside the box, like going straight with like the hook heads and, all that type of stuff, and having all the different accessories and stuff that you would be having to pick up in video games or, needing those on your adventures, and the fact that you can have so much modularity out of the figures. It's awesome. And it's good to see it. And honestly, your price point is pretty solid for what you're, I don't have one in hand, but what you're showing, what The Amazing had in his hands, it's like $38 for one of those figures is amazing. And then you have the slates, which are the black and like just the gray plastic ones that people can get that are.
It won't be gray, but yes, they're molded in a plastic with very minimal paint apps. But yes.
Now, did I think was it Dork Lair? Did he come up with that idea? The name, the slate, like taking credit of it.
Names for army builders without using the word army builder, and he's like, "Oh, what about slates?" As in like blanks. Or he said like blank slates, and I was like, "Slate sounds pretty good, actually." So yeah, I do give him credit for that, for coming up with that name. But then, originally the $25 figure was going to be called a slate, and I know that you've frozen, so hopefully you can still hear us. But
yeah,
when I got the pricing back, versus like practically no paint apps and the fully painted version that you see that we call the Savage, I realized that I could put out a $15 figure, and with my background coming from a lot of customizers, I knew that a $15 figure would really appeal to them. And I knew that some people don't like to paint at all. They don't have time. So they'd rather just pick up a cheaper $25 figure that's painted to use than a $15 figure that they have to sort of paint to get to a higher deco level. So sometimes we're just experimenting, seeing what the market really wants and letting them tell us what they want with their wallets versus, how loud somebody screams or something to that effect.
Yeah.
No,
I got some questions and comments starred from the chat.
Sure. Go ahead, Josh.
First off, the fish guys looks like your mom, aren't?
Thanks, Canuck. Thank you.
Okay. And then we got Cutthroat Comics. Rob, is this your first Kickstarter? And what made you want to create this cool looking line of figures?
Yeah, so this is as far in terms of being a creator, it's certainly my first Kickstarter. It's not the first one I've ever backed. I've backed several. By the way, how many you backed is actually linked to your email address. So if you use a work email to create something, it only shows the one Kickstarter that you actually backed, which was unfortunate, but whatever. In terms of what wanted me to create it, there's toys that I wanted that I didn't think people were making. It's that simple. It's how any business is, right? You see something that you think there's going to demand for that's not being met, and you create it. And so there are certain things that I want to create that I don't think there'll be a lot of demand for, like Battle Danes. But that's more of a passion project in terms of I'm just going to make that because I can. And but other figures I am very mindful of what people ask for and what they want. And we try to respond to that. So yeah, I think we do have something that a lot of people like, and it will speak to them. And I think it will speak more and more to them the more and more that they see. So I think a lot of people are going to regret not getting in early, because if you haven't figured out by looking at all the different options on waves, there is a lot of tooling, and despite what you might hear from other people, that's not going to stop.
Nice.
You heard it here, okay? Then we got a Punk with Toys. What is the realistic time frame that you expect these to be done, and will they be available on Big Bad or Entertainment?
So we do have the estimated shipping times on the Kickstarter for each wave, and for the coins and the decoder and the graphic novel. So the graphic novel, the hard copy graphic novel, the coins and whatnot should ship this summer. Wave 1 is somewhere around November of 23, and then wave 2 is in the spring of 24, and then wave 3 is in the fall of 24. And so if you think about it, that's roughly about 6 months, 7 months after the Kickstarter ends, which has never happened before with action figures. That's not lost on me. It's not lost on my factory either, but I've been working with them for over 2 years. So there's a lot of things going on that just don't typically happen in a Kickstarter. And so these figures will probably be delivered sooner than some of the Kickstarters that you might have backed a year or two ago.
We get a comment from Commander Peck. Rob, you've done it again with that peg for the heads. 990 backers and counting.
Your name does not fool me, sir. I know who you are.
We got the Halo Hunter. He wants to know if the Lemurians have joints in their tails.
They do. On Instagram, there's a picture of one of the prototypes. And the only thing that's not in there in terms of joint, the one joint that's going to connect into the back of the figure will be a disc ball joint. So it'll actually be able to bend really far where you can curl part of it forward where you can't right now. And that's one of the additions that we made off the check models, realizing that the articulation is nice, but it's not quite there yet. And so that top ball joint will actually be a disc joint, and that'll allow you to bend the tail forward and in a more extreme manner right there. And you can even turn it and switch it around the leg. And so, yeah, it definitely will have articulation. And there might be bigger tails in the future. So, I mean, the first wave already comes with 3 different tails. Como has a different tail. And then Nin has a different tail as well. Nin's tail is actually armored.
Yeah, see, that's impressive. It's like you would think that first wave there'd be tons of reuse, and you're like, nope, different head sculpts, nope, different tails. Like that's impressive.
Well, no, I mean, I don't mind telling people the tooling for the first wave is like $90,000. So, but I use my own money to pay for that.
Wow.
Well, we salute you for that because it turned out great. Like, I can't wait. Will the decoder ship in November as part of wave 1, or will it ship in another wave?
The decoder will ship this summer. So we'll put the order in for the decoder right after the Kickstarter, and
I got to get that decoder.
It'll probably take 8 weeks roughly to get that, maybe 12.
You're gonna need it, Josh, because you got that whole display with your Power Rangers. You might as well have a Savage Crucible display with that decoder in the middle of it.
Are we gonna be able to use the decoder to decode like figures that come in and stuff?
We just did that piece that he shared in the book.
I was on the Kickstarter, I think, when you were talking about that. So
we put up a lot of stuff on Instagram and Facebook with messages. Not a lot, but we do. And a lot of stuff. What happens is there's a coded message. You decode it, and then you got to figure out what its meaning is. And then lots of times, I'm a real jerk about it, and it actually has 2 meanings or 2 purposes. So like last one message we put up was for the word Frazetta, which was a hint to the licensing that we were going to bring, but it also was the password to get into a couple of pages on the website as well.
That's really cool.
That is cool.
And then we got Cutthroat Comics. Rob, is this your first Kickstarter? And
I already asked
that. Oh, he put it in twice. Never mind.
Yeah.
So then we got Timothy Peak. Will we see Kroll figures in Savage Crucible?
I mean, you guys just have to wait and find out.
We'll see.
And then we got My Action Figure Channel wants to know, will Nin come with an unarmored tail as well?
No, he won't.
Is the armor removable?
No, it's not. You can switch it out with a different character. Obviously, it'll be painted differently. That's something to consider maybe in the future in terms of the character packs offering things like that in a tail. I hadn't considered it before this moment, to be honest. So that actually is a very expensive piece when you think about it, because of the articulation involved in putting it together. So that's not a cheap piece to give a second one of at all.
Well, you can always do something like everybody else, like down the road, like a special pack comes with a new tail for Nin. People, they do it all the time. Like my Goliath, I had to get the dog from Gargoyles to get the damn folded wings. So,
right. Well, I mean, there's a lot. Like I get there's always something that someone else wants that you haven't offered or given the opportunity. But from my perspective, the amount of new tooling in Wave 1 that's not overused is exceptional and unprecedented. So, and as we roll out these stretch goals and where we put them is based on where there is margin to put them in there. So you might not like that a head or a piece is in a character pack, but there's more margin there to put pieces versus the characters. So I don't know of any figures on the market with this level of articulation that are under $60.
No, there was that one company, I think they made some dinosaur figures, but they were like $80, I think.
Yeah, so most of these are in the vein of like Mafex, figure arts, that kind of stuff. So very high level of articulation when you think about it, especially from a production standpoint.
And the Halo Hunter wants to know how many stretch goals are planned.
Hang on. Let me go to my spreadsheet over here.
He's actually going to throw a number out there. That's going to be crazy.
It should be at least 20, if not more.
Jeez.
Wow.
So,
I can't
are
wait
we
for
gonna get them all? I don't know about that. I don't think so, but hey, you guys caught me off guard by giving us this much money so soon. I was not expecting to be at this level by now, and so I figured I should do my job and surprise you guys.
That's awesome. That's awesome. and I'm happy that you're
the head hooks, and I'm good. I'm set. That's all I need.
The what? The hook head?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Look, I mean, we put we have that Facebook group where I ask questions, and it's very legitimate. We really do read those, and we really do think about
And where can people find this Facebook group that they can join?
The Savage Crucible private Facebook group. Yeah, you just have to type it in to be able to join. It's super secret. Gotta have a decoder. No, I'm kidding.
No, you do. You do. You need to go on the Kickstarter right now and buy the decoder.
No, I don't. I don't ever want anybody to buy anything they don't want to buy. I'm not that type. In fact, we went through a lot of trouble to make sure that not only would the waves ship fast, but they would be reasonably priced where people could buy an all-in. And I know that there's 3 waves on the Kickstarter, and the all-in I think is like $675 or something. And it's not lost on me that actually is still expensive for a lot of people that are collecting. And so we've been trying to be as transparent as possible, letting people know that like wave 3, you're definitely going to get another opportunity to pre-order. Wave 2 more than likely as well. So, think about that when how you're placing your orders, because this is the cheapest that these figures will ever be. When you're ordering from Savage Crucible Direct, they will not be $38 or $15. This is a benefit strictly for the Kickstarter fans that back us.
You imagine 38 on the Kickstarter would be like, I want to say like $50 on Big Bad or something like that, at least.
They'll definitely be more than that on Big Bad if they're on Big Bad.
But they're most likely it'll definitely be on Savage Crucible's website,
So I don't. We've been contacted by a lot of retailers, and which is very encouraging because they've been contacted by a lot of fans, and but who carries the line is not something that I can dictate. I don't own those companies, and so we're definitely open to retailers, and we'll definitely offer them pricing that is equivalent to the industry in a lot of ways. And but I mean, I think for the most part, anybody that's collecting can see that certain lines are much cheaper to buy direct versus through a retailer. So
it seems like everything that if I go on to certain websites, like even like Big Bad, I'll go on there and they add their own $20 to $30 on top of the price, and it's like, wait, what? I'm like, nah, that's okay.
Well, I mean, and there's a lot to that, like that people don't really understand. So like, I'll probably get hate mail from some companies, but I'll just go ahead and throw this out there. So like, most of the retailers usually double the price of what they pay for it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You can usually at a minimum, that's what they're paying for it. They might get a better deal than that. They might get something higher than 50%. And what I mean by that is simply they might mark it up more than that because they got a better deal. And so, but how much a company offers off on their figures to retailers can be anywhere from 30 to 60%. So it's something that is out there and it's pretty well known. But for the most part, most margins are like in the 50 to 60% range before you start accounting for sunk costs. Sunk costs are like shipping international, buying your containers and things like that you haven't accounted for in that price. So you have sunk costs, and you like your tooling. Then you have like variable production costs, meaning how much does it cost from the factory for each figure to be, made, painted, and put in a box, and you're paying for the box. But at that point, you still haven't paid for the shipping to get it back over to your to your warehouse, much less to the customer. So,
and you guys are using a manufacturer in China, or?
And so the factory that we're partnered with, they make Valaverse figures. They make AWOC, Marauders. They're doing the Robo Skull. Dave Proctor is the production manager. He's a founding member of Boss Fight Studios, and he was a sculptor / engineer for Hasbro for a long time. So he was, generally speaking, there's only about 3 factories for the uninitiated in America to get stuff made out of in China. And that's just because of who they work with here in the United States. And so what you'll find is that's where other Kickstarters get into a problem. There's a lot of scammers out there, and that goes back to that illusion. Once you hit the send button, once you transfer that money over the factory, that's it. That's all you can do. There's nothing left after that. So you damn well better know who you're working with on the other end. And so Dave Proctor, he lives in Hong Kong. The factory's based on the mainland China, and his business partner is Shen, and they've been doing this for a decade at least, and with some really well-known brands, and they're very extremely knowledgeable about what they're doing, not just from the manufacturing standpoint, but they're toy collectors themselves. So they really love toys. Like, they collect toys, they've sculpted toys. So that's really important to the process. So, and it's fun to have a partner on the other side that's excited about your line, like you are, alluding to like the Harbinger, and they're like, no, we can put more paint on this. Like, we can make this pop more. So the average factory is never going to tell you something like that.
That's awesome. Now, somebody is asking, will future waves be a Kickstarter or pre-orders?
Most future waves will definitely be pre-orders off the Savage Crucible website. There might be some bigger items that I might be unsure of, that might need to go the Kickstarter route. Kickstarter's 2 things, right? It's one, it brings a lot of attention that you otherwise wouldn't get. You pay a fee for that, obviously, because you're handing over about 10% of your money to Kickstarter. And for those that don't know, Kickstarter advertises 5%, but they charge you an additional 3 to 5% for processing the fees. So it's 8 to 10% in total. So, which is fair, I guess. But it brings a lot of attention that you otherwise wouldn't get for just a pre-order, right? That's one thing. The other thing is that you get to set a goal for funding where everybody understands if it doesn't reach that goal, you don't make it. But if you're doing a pre-order through your website and you kind of do that, HasLab kind of can get away with that because they're so big, but a small indie company, I don't know that they would really be able to get away with that concept, right? And then plus it's also the concept of most indie companies have it set up to where your card is automatically charged at that moment. And so because we're usually more simplistic websites, that's why you can't pre-order and order at the same time from a lot of websites, because they're not sophisticated. They don't have an army of IT guys or web builders back there creating their own special code for your website the way that these really large companies come. They're using these cookie cutter ideas, right? So I'll say that there are some big things that we would like to try that might go the Kickstarter route, but I won't if I don't have to.
And then Punk with Toys, if it's the same factory as Valaverse, will we need to worry about the same breakage they've been having?
Which line are you referring to? Which wave?
Action Force.
I think probably their wave 1. Probably wave 1 had some breakage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wave 3 was the ankle.
Well, that was the air bubble.
Wave 3 was made at a different factory.
Okay, so are you at the factory he was with at the beginning? Then?
So wave 1 and 2, see, these are things that people don't understand. So if you're trying to get product out and your factory tells you no, that they can't get it out when you want it, you have 2 options. You can wait, or you can go try a different factory, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those are your 2 options. And so with COVID, that a lot of companies were having this issue, and a lot of companies tried different factories to varying degrees of success, right? And so every factory has issues. because manufacturing plastic is actually, especially in action figure form, is a very complicated thing to understand. Just the coefficients of friction on different plastics is something that the average person just never contemplates. So when you think about the joint disc being made out of a different material than the surrounding plastic that it rubs against, gives a different coefficient of friction. So you have to have a detailed understanding of that. Furthermore, humidity, which is, for those not knowing the term, is moisture in the air, and the ambient temperature in the air has a direct correlating effect on hardness of the plastic when it's finally at room temperature. And so that changes throughout the year. So there's sort of this art and science behind when you're making your figures at what point in time and the environment that you're making them in, right? And so I want to say that one of the issues with like Wave 3, I think there was an air bubble in the ankle, and that was created, you know, it wasn't necessarily like that was, yeah, it was a defect. There's no doubt. Could anyone have ever seen it? No. But you look at like what Bobby did with his first wave, it had some hip issue, right? So that's the difference between a bad factory and a good factory. A good factory sends you the replacement parts so that you can fix the issue. A bad factory disappears. They don't call you. They don't care. They've got your money. They're not, you're costing them more, right? So that is the difference between a good factory and a bad factory. And it's also a difference between a good company and a bad company, because I think Bobby did a really great job of making that right when things went wrong. So,
yeah, my scarab broke at the hip, and he fixed the part and shipped me back my figure. I mean, a lot of these issues that happened, I mean, it was taken care of. I think sometimes people like to, you know, blow it more out of proportion. They want to focus on the negativity of some of these figures, because I mean that's the cool thing to do nowadays.
Well, I mean, look at Mondo, which is literally like 8 times the price point. They're, you know, they had some QC issues. They send out replacements for it. You know, there's every company, and this goes back to, if you do something long enough, you're going to have problems. It's just like when you're packing orders. You know, at MAFC, we have an error rate that's below 2%. And so people will say, well, I've never had a problem. I'm glad that you've never had a problem, but people have had problems. And unfortunately,
like me, I've never had any of them break on me. I don't know. I just get lucky.
Yeah. And that goes back to things that, like, there's always trade-offs, right? Like, your joints can come in really tight and you have to heat them up to loosen them up, or they can come in, they move perfectly, and then in 6 months they can't stand up. So yeah, it's your call on what you want. I mean, you know, everyone wants this perfect world where they come when they move and they stay like that forever. Well, it's plastic. It's, you know, it's not made out of metal and a mechanical joint. So it doesn't work that way. Even if you put in rivets or anything like that, like, it eventually wears down because it's plastic. And so unfortunately, that's the problem. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that there's realistic expectations and there's unrealistic expectations. And so I hope that every product comes back defective free. But if it does, we'll fix it. That's all there is to it.
All right. Yeah, he was just saying that he okay with issues as long as they get addressed, which they did. I reviewed them all and had a few problems, and many people messaging me and they had the same issues. So yeah. I mean, you're gonna
like that's like when I got Pandora, that's the first thing I started doing, was just cranking on the ankle, because
let me try to break its ankle.
Well, no, I heated it up properly, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way if it's going to be a thing. And it wasn't a thing. So,
yeah, well, I can tell you I've collected other lines that have had QC issues with their elbows, with the stems not being long enough, loose joints being loose. And it never gets addressed, but the fan base seems to be okay with it. They don't riot.
I got a whole shelf that 50% of these motherfuckers, the hip will break on you. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just an interesting concept. I mean, not that it should happen, but different fan bases definitely react differently. And I don't know if it's the creator involved, if it's the line, like the theme of the line brings something to it, or if there's competition in that standpoint that brings it to a head. I don't really know. It's an interesting social kind of concept to think about in toy collecting, but all I can tell you is that the good companies try to fix it and replace it and learn from it, and the bad ones just sweep it under the sun and still get really goofy eyes every wave after every wave.
Like my NECA Tune Casey
like
has
nothing,
short pins.
They act like nothing ever breaks. Like, you know, you can go buy a brand new car and drive it off the lot and something break on it. Shit happens.
Look at all the cars that have recalls. You take it in and you're like, I'm just getting an oil change. Oh, by the way, we had to change this, and this because it was all recall.
It was going to explode. Yeah.
It's going to explode a bunch of babies out.
I don't know.
But
people go to bitch.
He did say, I like hearing that you have a plan if something is defective or breaks.
Yeah, it's just moved to Bermuda.
So,
well,
did you say move
I'm
to
super
Bermuda?
excited for the line.
No, I mean, people don't know me because MAFC, like, I never want to keep people's money if they're not happy with something. I give it back to you in a heartbeat, tell you to keep whatever.
Jesus says, general rule of thumb, if it doesn't move better, just heat it up. Don't force it. Now, if it's something like the Funko Legacy figures with clear plastic joints, that's bad. Yeah, all those Funko figures, they fell apart. They crumbled. Like, their joints just crumbled, brittle plastic. I had
this is the only good one I got though from Funko.
But they did like the Game of Thrones. Like I had a Tyrion Lannister, which looked okay. It was given to me as a gift.
Oh yeah.
And I think his wrist broke or his elbow broke. And then they did a Skyrim figure, and that thing the stuff just started crumbling.
They've done a lot of the same companies did a lot of the Blizzard figures too, and so we really need to start like a what do you call those? One of those petitions to let us do the Diablo figures for Diablo 4.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
because I think NECA was the last one that did Blizzard stuff, right?
Were they? I don't know. I mean,
they did the Heroes of the Storm.
Seem so few and far between. I just don't know.
It always seemed like World of Warcraft.
Well, how that had to be like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it was NECA did like the ones that like did a couple of like from the Heroes of the Storm, like this is one of them.
Oh, Heroes of the Storm, got it. Yeah.
But the other ones that I think that you were talking about, yeah, that would be cool. There you go, Blizzard. Give Microsoft, since you're gonna own.
There he goes. He's frozen up, people.
I froze up again in my middle of my little
spiel. You guys
spiel.
start that over. You started over.
I said, Microsoft, since you own Blizzard, let Rob's team make Diablo figures.
And World of Warcraft while you're at it.
Or just, all that stuff. But yeah, so we've been going for like 2 hours, and I'm sure, Rob, you probably want to relax and not be on the stream all night. So anybody that has any extra questions, save them for next time, or if you got any questions, ask them really quick right now. I'm going to give you guys like 7 minutes, 6 minutes now to ask a couple questions. If I don't get anything popping up, then we're going to call it a night.
Sweet. And you guys should always consider asking some of the other team members. They have some very diverse backgrounds, and they're all toy collectors and enthusiasts, and
any of them that wants to
way more.
And all their names are on the Savage Crucible website. So
all of them are welcome, Rob. Any of them that wants to just get on and just BS about toys and what they do and stuff like that, they're more than welcome to come on.
Sweet. Let's see.
Judge Diablo.
Someone's asked, is the Rosetta Warrior figure about the same height as the Barbarian and from Skewator? And yes, they are the same height.
People get the token license for Lord of the Rings figures. I ain't gonna lie. I think Diamond's doing a pretty good job with the Lord of the Rings. They're not super crazy articulated, but some of them look pretty decent,
Yeah. How did the forearms and leg armor pieces removed? Do you pop off legs or hands, or is there another way? Well, you heat the part up and you pop it off.
Heat, guys.
Yeah,
a little bit of hair dryer on medium heat.
Yeah, the replay at the beginning of this, he showed us how they connect on the shoulders and stuff like that. So
Yeah. But for the forearms and shins, yeah, you need to use heat to pop them off.
But all right. Questions have plateaued. So I do thank everybody that's been tuning in. Thank you, Rob, for taking time out of your day to jump on and chat with us about your line that you've been probably talking about for 2 years now. And oh wait, now somebody's going in here. What is this?
Oh, now, oh, Jesus, you're talking my language, sir.
Yeah, Abyss Yellow exclusive, a King in Yellow version.
Well, that's an homage to an early The King in Yellow is a book from like the 1870s, 1880s. So if you guys are not familiar with it, I'm not going to spoil anything, but you should Google it.
I'm going to.
So, yes, the originally we were going to make him in yellow to start with.
Hey, I mean, there's a lot of potential out of it. I mean, it's a sweet looking mold. I'd have him in every color of the rainbow because it looks pretty badass.
Well, there are ways that we can reuse part of the tooling in some really creative ways, and yes, color variants of him are certainly a potential down the line. As obviously some aquatic life can change colors. So
nice. But all right, everybody, if you guys are catching it in, like jumping in now, make sure you guys watch the replay. Go show some support and love to Savage Crucible. You got the whole team that's behind it. So go show some love. Check out the website, the Kickstarter. All the information is down below. And make sure you share it with your fellow collectors that are unaware of this line. So just get the word out, you know. And as I tell you guys with all my videos, I want you guys to have the best luck hunting. Keep on collecting and have a beautiful day.